Hello and welcome to the Design YouTube channel. My name is Matt and this is a part of a webinar series. We have created this so that you can learn something new. So let's just jump right into it and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming to my webinar today. Today I'll be going over character design, the art of imagination. Now for this presentation, it will be a comprehensive overview of character design within the entertainment industry. I won't go into anything too specific. It'll be more like a general overview for people who are interested in getting into character design or transition into character design. So here's the outline. I'll be talking about what is character design. So what does it mean? What is a character designer? So that is you, the individual, your role as a character designer. And I'll talk about some skill set requirements, things you need to know in order to perform as a character designer. I'll talk about the process of creating a design from scratch, and it's more like a general process, right? And then I'll go over portfolio, like what you can do in order to create a great portfolio, and I will also include some examples. So let's get into it. So what is character design? So character design is the process of creating the visual appearance, personality, and overall aesthetic of characters for various forms of media, including video games, movies, animations, comics, and more. So you have a whole lot of stuff there. This involves developing sketches, concepts, and final designs that depict the character's physical attributes, clothing, accessories, personality, cultural background, etc. So there's a lot to cover as well. So it can be developed into a pipeline and implemented into a product. So here's an example of character design being implemented to 3D here. This is some sketches and a design sheet, and just like a snippet of it. There's actually a lot more sketches that this guy did here. This is by Paul Richards. He's a fantastic concept artist. So this is basically the iteration and design here, and here you can actually see how it's being implemented into 3D here. And this is the game called Paragon. You can actually do some research about it, and you can find more about the designs online, and you can see how the 3D models look like in the game. So moving on to the next part, we have basically visual storytelling. So well-designed characters help tell the story more effectively by visually conveying their personality, background, and role in a narrative. This is done through building a body type, posing, costuming, and adding accessories or props. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you engage the audience. So visually appealing and well-developed characters make people excited to engage with the story or product they are using. A boring or lackluster design can detract from an enjoyable experience and break the immersion. So you want to really make sure that when you're creating characters, you want to make sure that they're telling the story properly and that they look really exciting and really cool for the type of story that they're being put into. Then you have to establish the consistency. So consistent character design helps build a cohesive and believable world, ensuring that characters fit seamlessly into the overall setting and style of the project. So I have two different examples here, right? So the first we have is Team Fortress 2, and you have like a team of characters right here, and they all look like they fit together in the same world, and they have designs and a style that feels cohesive and it makes sense. Here you also have Family Guy. This is for an animation. So the style is going to be different, the look is going to be different, and the characters look drastically different from Team Fortress 2. So imagine that if you place Peter Griffin into Team Fortress 2, it just wouldn't make sense. It would look really jarring and really weird. That's why you have to essentially establish that visual consistency within the project. And then we have making characters iconic. So for franchises, a strong character design can help establish and maintain brand identity, making the media instantly recognizable. Okay, so I don't have any names for these characters. I'm just gonna look at these characters, and I essentially see this guy. This is Master Chief, and I know that Master Chief is from Halo. We have Mario from Super Mario Brothers, and then we have Tracer from Overwatch. So I can just look at these characters and immediately tell that they are from this game or this animation or this movie, whatever it may be, right? Now we're going to move on to what is a character designer. So A character designer combines artistic skills with storytelling to bring characters to life. Character designers must be industrious, creative, and collaborative, working closely with art directors, writers, and other artists to ensure their designs align with the overall vision of the project. So this is very, very important. A character designer plays an important role, particularly in the pre-production phase of a pipeline, but their influence also extends into production and even post-production stages. So I have like a list, or not like a list, but like an overview of like a pipeline right here. And keep in mind that this below is a general workflow that exists. So keep in mind the size and scale of the project. Different companies will have different workflows and pipelines. So this is just like a general overview of what you can kind of expect in a pipeline. So going into pre-production, the early pre-production is the initial brainstorming and conceptual phase where creativity is almost unrestricted. So you will have things like mood boards and references that you will be gathering. You have idea generation and concept sketches. Later stages of pre-production, the ideas start to become clearer and a visual identity is established. So then you go taking your rougher sketches and your rough ideas, and then you begin to refine them a little bit further. You add some colors to them. You do some front views and back views to iterate further and visually explain things. Now keep in mind, larger scale projects have something called the blue sky phase that allows for creative freedom and idea generation. Nothing is set in stone yet, and there are almost no restrictions. So the blue sky phase will technically happen before the pre-production, and this will happen in like larger scale projects. It's a lot of fun. Not all projects will have a blue sky phase though, so keep that in mind. Then you're moving into production. So once the project has been approved to the next stage, the designs are refined and prepared as blueprints for other departments to use, such as 3D artists and animators. So your responsibility would be to be painting and doing some material rendering to see how it looks like and to kind of give an idea of what the character would look like in a game, for example. And then you'll be doing turnarounds and callouts. The turnarounds and callouts, I'll get more into that later as I explain the process. Since the visual identity is established, and if an art bible is available, producing new characters is easier in the pipeline. So basically in production, things starts to roll a little bit more smoothly, and there's like a certain expectations being laid out there. Then you have post-production. So in some cases, character designers may stay on to create additional content. So after the game has been released, let's say, as a game has been released, if it's like a live service game, character designers may stay on a little bit longer to help out on some things to add additional content. So for example, a live service game may have new skins produced for playable characters, or a game may release a DLC that introduces new characters and enemy types. So just to explain things a little bit further here, so in pre-production is the most fun and creative stage, but it's also the most intellectually intense. So as you have to create new and creative ideas quickly. In pre-production sets the art direction and tone for the whole projects. So this is the reason for why senior artists are most desired during this stage of the pipeline. So if you're just starting out in the industry and you're a junior, in many cases you won't necessarily be jumping straight into pre-production. A lot of seniors are wanted for this stage because they're really good at iterating really quickly, coming up with ideas really quickly. Production and post-production are less intense as a visual identity and workflow have been established, making it easier for newer designers to follow. So you will have maybe like documents or like an art bible that you can follow. It makes things a lot easier for you as an artist. Now I'll be getting into the skill set requirements. So I have the 3 pillars here that we talk a lot about at Design. It's foundation, design, and storytelling. So jumping into the first pillar here, and this is just like a general overview of what you should know as a character designer specifically, right? You have proportion. So knowledge of body proportions and how to manipulate them for different styles and character types. This is incredibly important. You need to understand proportion in the human body and how to play around with it a little bit. Then we move on to anatomy. Strong understanding of human anatomy to create believable characters. Bonus points for animal anatomy. I have, from my experience as a character designer, I often also make anthropomorphic characters, or even a little bit of like creatures, or like I do characters that are more like humanoid, that aren't necessarily fully human. So if you know a little bit of animal anatomy, that's bonus points. I have a little note here. So remember, you're not a doctor, you're an artist. Some people have the idea that they should have like a super extensive overview of like all the muscular anatomy and all that, to the point where they're being super particular and correct about it. That can probably hold you back a little bit. You need to have a pretty decent overview of the anatomy, but you don't have to be like doctor level of understanding anatomy here. So just remember that. Then you have form and depth. Character designers must have a strong understanding of how to draw forms in space and possess an innate ability to create depth on a two-dimensional surface. You should be able to do this as an artist in general, but I do see that a lot of students, they probably jump into proportion and anatomy, but they kind of ignore their understanding of three-dimensional form in space. You need to be able to actually draw geometric forms in space, and playing around with them and moving them around in space. You need to be able to do that. It's very important. Moving on to design. So this is like some general notes about design that I think is very important for people to know. The first is big, medium, and small. So BMS for short here is a well-known and simple technique used by designers to create an appealing visual hierarchy. If this is the first time you have heard of big, medium, and small, there's actually a lot of resources online that talks about it, so you can jump right into it and read about it or watch videos about it. Next is flow and rhythm. It utilizes lines and shapes to lead the viewer's eye around the character's design. So it's kind of like you need to make sure that you have a sense of gesture and flow in your lines, and that you're just having a sense of rhythm in the design, so that the viewer can kind of easily move around the character's design. A way to kind of exercise this is through gesture drawing as well. Function versus form. So this is a technique to explain the function of a design before determining its form, or to determine the form first and explain the function afterward. This is also a well-known design theory used as well. Then moving on to storytelling, and this is also very important. As character designers, we need to be able to tell some sort of story through our character designs. The first is archetypes. So understanding common character archetypes used in media, such as the hero, the villain, the sage, the rebel, and so on. And there are many different types of character archetypes, but this is among one of the most well-known ones that you can pick and study from. Then you have culture and history. So visually showcase a character's culture and history through their clothing, accessories, tattoos, scars, and overall appearance. This gives you an insight of what the character's been through, where they're from. You know, you should have like the type of clothing that probably explains like, well, if they're wearing like a kimono, that's probably someone that's from Japan, for example, right? Then you have posing and expressions, and this is one of my favorite. It's important to showcase the character's personality and mood to the viewer, giving an insight to who they are as a person. I really like this. I think some people probably design characters kind of like they're a mannequin, and they just put some clothing on top of them, but they don't explore the emotions and personality of the character. You know, show that off. It gives us an insight of who they are. It's very important. So just a quick note, right? This is just a sample of skills that a character designer should know. The skills listed above are some of the most important, so keep in mind of that. Okay, this is part 2, drawing ability. So you need to be proficient in sketching and drawing confidently with lines. Much of the work is done through construction, which is generally faster with drawing than with painting. So if you're a type of person that really likes to paint and you build stuff up through painting, I recommend, if you're going to move into this field, that you get really good at drawing as well. Then you have broad visual library. The mental catalog of visual elements that an artist can recall from past experiences and observations. That's a visual library. So this mental catalog is used to efficiently iterate new ideas on the fly. As an artist, you should be open to new experiences and allow yourself to be a vessel of curiosity. Essentially, you should be able to look at things around you and be curious about things. Look at them and observe them and take them into yourself, and then you can use that memory or that visual library that you build up over time. You can use that in personal projects or for clients. Then you have creative skills, very important. Ability to brainstorm and develop unique characters, concepts from initial ideas. Creative and critical thinking skills is essential to produce original and engaging character designs that fit the story and world. So you need to be able to critically think and come up with new ideas on the fly. This is something that can be built up over time as you become a better character designer. And you have to be able to come up with interesting and unique designs quite quickly in this field of work. So now I'm going to get into the process, okay? The process of creating a design from scratch, right? And again, this is a kind of like a general overview of the process. This isn't like a deep dive, so just keep that in mind for yourself. So the first thing is briefing. Carefully read the project brief to understand the character's role, personality, and background. Note any specific requirements regarding the character's appearance, style, or functionality. Identify the target audience and the setting in which the character exists. So for example, you might have like fantasy, sci-fi, historical. And this is incredibly important. I think that people skim over the brief very quickly without taking into consideration the details of what needs to be included. I've seen, especially like junior character designers, they skip over some details and then they create something that maybe the client didn't want, right? Reference and research gathering. So collect visual references related to the character's attributes. This can include images from life, artworks, and photos. References can include, but are not limited to, clothing, proportions, anatomy, armor, hairstyles, materials, props, and more. So there's many things that you can use as reference. So in some cases, you have to do some additional research to learn about the material. So if you are briefed on something, you may know exactly what you need to do in order to gather the references and just get started. But in some cases, you might not really know what that thing is, or you don't know that much about it. So for example, if you're doing like designs based on the Edo period in Japan, and you're going to make some, let's say, samurai designs, maybe they're a bit fantastical, but you're trying to be a bit more historically accurate here, you probably need to do a little bit of research online and read up on the topic so that you have a better understanding of it and so that you can better portray the designs accurately. Okay, this is a very important note. Reference gathering should not take more than a few minutes to 1 hour. In some instances, you may need more time to research so you understand the subject before you iterate. I've seen so many cases where students will just spend a whole day gathering references. That's not the primary work here. You're just going to get a few things to kind of kickstart, and then you can add a little bit more references on top, right? As you're moving along with the design. Now, in some cases, right, you need to communicate with the client and say, hey, I don't know that much about this subject. I just need a little bit more time to do more research and be informed about it. That can be the case, but you need to communicate that with the client. Then you have idea generation. So in some cases, designers like to process the information and generate ideas to prepare for iteration. Designers may utilize techniques such as brainstorming, creating lists, quick and rough thumbnailing, word associations, and more. So this is just if you're a little bit unsure where to start, like if you're the type of person that have a little bit of analysis paralysis, you can do a little bit of brainstorming to kind of get you started with things and get the cogs turning in your mind. And then you have thumbnailing and sketching. So this is the next step in the process. Start with small, rough sketches, so thumbnails, to explore different silhouettes and shapes. Develop several of the most promising thumbnails into slightly more detailed sketches. So you can take, for example, some thumbnails that you did and you can develop them a little bit further. And this is just so that you don't waste time on doing too much detailing early on, right? Continue to focus on overall form and major design elements without getting bogged down in fine details. So it's very, very important that as you're starting out, that you don't zoom in too quickly and start detailing stuff. We want to keep things very open. We want to explore many different ideas, and we want to do that quickly. Note, every project and client is different, as I've mentioned before. Some may ask for a few sketches, some may ask for many. And yeah, I have a bunch of references here of different sketches. Some are very loose, some are a little bit tighter here, and they're really, really nice. I also done some like thumbnails here. You can see silhouette thumbnails being done and prepared. Then you have part 3, you moving into refined sketches and concepts. So review the initial sketches and choose the ones that best align with the brief and have the most potential. So you're just taking a few sketches that you've done, and then you're taking them to the next stage, and then you're refining on top of that. And then you leave the others, you just leave them behind essentially. Create more detailed sketches based on the selected thumbnails. Include finer details such as facial features, clothing elements, and accessories. So, you know, in the prior sketches, you're not going to get into like facial features and little details, but here you can develop that a little bit further, right? Produce refined concepts showing variation in design, attire, and expressions to ensure a comprehensive exploration of the character. And again, I have more references. If I just move back here a little bit, these are the thumbnails. I picked a few of these, and then this is where I developed these sketches here. So this is done by me here. Here are some other sketches. These are more like painterly here. This is done by Faraz Shanyal, very nice. Here's by Hugh, and he's done some like helmet designs on top of that. So you don't strictly have to create new whole designs. You can probably take like aspects of a character. If you want to explore maybe a part of it to just see how it looks differently, you can do that too. And then you have part 4, where we're moving into coloring and rendering, right? Choose a color scheme that reflects the character's personality, role, and the overall aesthetic of the project. Create several color variations to explore different possibilities and find the best fit. So instead of just creating one color variation, you can just test things out and play around, let's say with the hue slider on Photoshop to kind of like see things a little bit, make slight variations. Things are still open to play around with here. And then you also have painting. So paint the character to show depth and material rendering. And this can be a very fun part of the process, because now you get to see the design becoming more finalized. A lot of aspiring character designers have a false idea that this is the primary work, but this is just a small part of it. Okay, so I think a lot of people, they go on social media or they go on, let's say, ArtStation, and they see these like walls of artwork that are like basically character designs that are really rendered and like they're really well done. But I wouldn't say that that is an accurate representation of what you do as a character designer. It's just a small part of it. Majority of the work that you will be doing is going to be doing a lot of sketches and iterations and explorations. Okay, so here we have some different variations. Here you just see some color variations of characters. In some cases, you might necessarily have to render the character fully. In other projects, you may have to render the character out and make them look super nice, which can be useful for other departments to see, for investors to see. It can also be used in marketing and all that stuff. And then we're moving on to turnarounds and callouts. So this is the final stage of the design process, where the character is prepared as a blueprint for other departments to use. Turnarounds, or orthographics as we sometimes call it, showcase the character from different views to provide as much visual information as possible. Generally, this includes a front view, back view, and side view. So callouts are also additional drawings that explain material, shape, or function of various elements on the character. So this is generally done maybe along with the orthographics or turnarounds. There might be some callouts to explain things a little bit further. So below here we have concept turnaround by Anna Nikonova for a character that will be implemented into the game League of Legends. And you can see that it's kind of like an A pose, very standard, not necessarily showcasing the character's personality in any way. It's just like a strict front view, side view, back view, and this will help like the 3D department to model on top of this orthographic sheet. So it makes their process a lot easier. Here, this is done by this is done by me. This is also done for like a client. And this isn't necessarily like a strict orthographic. I'm still showcasing the personality of the character here. They didn't need a very strict orthographic view. They just needed like a back view and that's it. So I have the front view, the back view, and I'm just having a call out of this sword here to explain it a little bit better so they can see the front view of the sword, but I can also see the back view, and also just a little explanation of his arm, which is not the same as his other arm here. And the same thing goes if you have another like concept by Hisham Habchi here. He has this shield, but it's not very well, like you can't see a lot of the details and how it looks like. So he did a call out here of the front view, side view, and back view of the shield. So the other departments have like a very clear overview of what that looks like. Now I'm going to move into portfolio. So your portfolio should showcase your skills as a character designer with several projects including sketches and designs. So I'm going to jump into what you should avoid first, because these are like common things that I see people doing that is a mistake, right? The first is doing fan art or including fan art in their portfolio. So fan art doesn't showcase your creative design skills as you are only redrawing a pre-existing design. So in the title character designer, you are a designer. If you're doing fan art, you're not designing anything new. So this isn't really valuable for clients to see because they don't really understand like how you, like this isn't really like a new design. Yeah, it showcases your ability to draw, but if you really want to do fan art, you can just include that in maybe other social medias that isn't necessarily like a very strict portfolio, right? So I'm not telling you not to do fan art, but just don't include it in your portfolio. Unrelated to character design. So things unrelated to character design, avoid including drawings and paintings that are unrelated to character design, such as let's say a portrait of your grandmother's dog. So yeah, avoid that. Just if you love your grandmother and you wanted to do a portrait, just don't include that in your portfolio. You can just keep it to yourself. And then you have studies. So while studying is beneficial, it doesn't need to be included in your portfolio. It may showcase your fundamental skill level, but it does not demonstrate your creative ability to design and iterate. So it's similar in this case like fan art, it doesn't showcase your design capabilities. This is what I recommend you guys do. Sketches and iterations, very important. Think of your design process as a math problem. You need to show the steps you took to arrive at your final solution. So if you have a tendency to only post like final designs in your portfolio, I would highly recommend showcasing to people how you came to your final design. If you did several sketches or if you only did a few, if you made some mistakes along the way, showcase how you iterate and how you come up with new and different designs for yourself. Then you have callouts and turnarounds, just like I talked about in the process. Show more than just the front view of a character. You can include their designs from different angles and close-ups. And you don't necessarily have to do like a strict orthographic view like you're seeing here. You can do something more general like this here if you want to, okay? And that could be nice because it can showcase like how you deal with like designing a character from the back, because a lot of people don't actually do that. You might be surprised. And then you have variety. Showcase a variety of characters with different shapes, sizes, personalities, and backgrounds. Some people might have like a favorite body type, or like maybe like a favorite way of drawing a character, or they only draw fantasy characters, like maybe only knights, right? Showcase like your ability to draw different themes and different types of characters with different body types. It showcases your ability to design new things, and it showcases your skill level in a very positive way. So you may be able to do other stuff like that. You just need to, tell people visually you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next part here. This is very important for you guys to know. So according to Google search statistics, there's a high interest in character design, which means increased competition. You need to be highly motivated and possess the drive and creativity to stand out and outperform others in your field. I would very much say that in the area of character design, it's a bloodbath. A lot of people want to do this stuff. If you look at this graph right here, this blue line here, this is character design. It's more than double than environment design and prop design. So there's a clear interest in character design. So if you're going to get into this, be very aware that you're going to have to actually put in a lot of effort, and you're going to have to schedule things and you're going to have to be very industrious. Moving on to the second part here. And this is something that I think can maybe help people a little bit if you like to do fan art. But I think I need to explain the difference between fan art and redesigns, because that is something that people do for themselves. So fan art is a reproduction or reinterpretation of an existing design by the artist. A redesign, on the other hand, involves altering or reimagining the original design in some manner. Many strong portfolios include redesigns of popular IPs. Companies also redesign their characters for sequels or when remastering or remaking a title. So you have, for example, something like Final Fantasy, where they have done like a remaster or like a remake of one of their previous titles. And you can see like, yeah, here you have an old design, and they take that design and they just make a new design out of it so it fits with the kind of modern audience. Now here is like an example of what you can probably include in your portfolio if you wanted, right? So this is some sketches that Hugh made as well, so giving credit to Hugh. He really enjoys the game Heroes of Might and Magic, and he liked playing Heroes of Might and Magic 2. And it's a very fun game. And you can see these like very old designs. These are basically just pixel art right here. And there's a lot of things that it can be, you can basically take this and redesign it in a way. And here you can see the sketches, they're quite loose. You can see how, what the differences look like here. So they look very interesting. So you can do something like this, no problem. You can take like older IPs or even current IPs and you can put a spin on it. I've seen people do like, Legends of Zelda, instead of a fantasy theme, they do a sci-fi theme instead, and that can be interesting to see. Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. I want to show some examples of beautiful portfolios. I want to share some links with you guys. So to get an insight into what makes a great character design portfolio, I recommend checking out these artists. You can quickly see why these individuals are working in the industry. So I recommend checking these people out. These are the people that I'm mentioning here. This is what I used as reference for this webinar. So that is it. That's the end of the presentation. I hope you guys gain some insight into what it means to be a character designer, and I hope that you guys are a little bit more prepared and have a bit more clarity in terms of what you need to do in order to perform in this sector. So I wish you all good luck on your art career. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching the video, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you guys can stay updated. Check the description down below for more goodies and a link to our courses. We also have a Discord community that is active, so I recommend checking it out, and I'll see you there.